welcome to a new episode of Wilhelm and a brand new season of episodes as well. I've been away for a little bit, but we had a writer strike, we had an actor strike, so no guests, certain things we couldn't talk about. But it's all over now. We're back. We got brand new episodes coming, and we are kicking things off with an anniversary celebration. That is, of course, the strange man in the blue box. We're talking about Doctor Who. 60 years as of today, the day that this episode is released. Thanksgiving Day to you, Doctor Who Day to us fans. And to bring on my guests, couldn't think of two bigger Whovians to bring on. They haven't met until now, so that's fun. But returning to Wilhelm is my buddy Billie.
What's up, guys?
And making his first appearance on Wilhelm, and hopefully not the last, is Sean.
Greetings, everyone. Thanks for having me.
So as I mentioned, this is the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. We're all Whovians. We are huge fans of the series. Sean, I know I've seen pictures of you, cosplaying Doctor Who pretty phenomenally, I might add.
Oh, thank you.
And I know you've gone to cons, dressed that way as well. You don't just cosplay at home for the fun of it. Maybe you do. I don't know.
Sometimes,
Yeah. But yeah, so 60 years, we're all huge fans. I'm very curious because I know me personally, I found Doctor Who I was actually just talking to a friend of mine about this earlier tonight. I discovered Doctor Who or I had it recommended to me in the middle of Tennant. So Tennant was in his final season. I think Matt Smith had been announced as the next Doctor. And then, so I was really just about to come into Matt Smith, but I caught up to it. I feel like I'm stumbling my words. I apologize. I caught up to where everything was right before Matt Smith took over and Tennant took his bow. I'm curious about you guys. When did you guys discover it and how did you discover it? Sean, we'll start with you.
Yeah, thanks. So I've always been like a big sci-fi fan. I grew up in the, 80s, 90s era with Star Wars and Star Trek and everything. So Doctor Who was always one of those fandoms that was kind of lingering out there, but wasn't really something that, I guess, one, like, drew my attention, but two, it wasn't, I'll say, super big, like at the end of the 90s. I think they were just kind of sunsetting the series a little bit, and they took a little bit of a break before they rebooted it with Eccleston. So when I really started diving into it, I think similarly, Tennant was probably on like his second or third season, and I went back and kind of caught up, via Netflix and, watched Eccleston's season and then regenerated into Tennant, and just, between the two of those actors, just absolutely fell in love with the show. And then similarly, my wife and I dove really deep into the show, got caught up. I think it was for Tennant's last season. So we actually watched Tennant's last season live as he regenerated into Matt Smith. And then, like a lot of fans out there, you go through the, I don't know if you've seen the Doctor Who cycle where the new Doctor shows up and it's like, I hate this guy. He's never going to be able to take this guy's place. And then next phase is like, well, he's okay. And then, 6 months later, you're like, yeah, he's pretty good. So yeah, we definitely went through that growing pains just like everybody else. But yeah, that's where we kind of jumped in.
Okay. Billie, how about you? When did you discover it?
Yeah, just like he said, I grew up loving all things sci-fi, and Doctor Who was just something ever so slightly out of reach. I never really got into it, but I'm a high school teacher, and I have been for about 15, 16 years now, and I had a lot of students that would talk about Doctor Who all the time, and it just kept sounding like something, I think I should watch this. And I think when I jumped into it, it was on Netflix, and I believe it was in real time, it was Matt Smith's second season, but I didn't watch any of that. I started with, Eccleston's season and watched a lot of it. My wife, who is not a big nerd like me at all, actually was enjoying it as well. So that was kind of a perk, I guess. And we watched, all of those seasons up until it got caught up. David Tennant regenerated into Matt Smith, and suddenly that is when the show became live to me. I had to wait, every week or every few months in some cases until I could watch more. And that's about where I jumped in.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny because I know it seems like we all kind of found it around the same time, or at least when where the series was in that position. Because I, like you, I actually went to Best Buy and bought all the DVD sets to get caught up. I didn't go on Netflix to get caught up because I was a big collector at that time. So
Yeah.
I bought all the DVD sets, and I think I had a friend show me 1 or 2 episodes of Tenet, and then I went back and I was like, well, wait a minute, this isn't the same guy. And because it was Chris Eccleston. I think it was when Tenet regenerated that I really started to feel like when I started to realize like I'm more connected to this series than emotionally connected to the series than I thought I was. Because when Eccleston regenerated, I was like, oh, okay, they're just changing actors. It's a recast, whatever. But the emotion behind Tenet's regeneration, I was like, wow, I'm invested in this show now. And that's when I started going through, Sean, as you mentioned, or it might have been you, Billy. I think it was you, Sean, the cycle of this guy, because I think we all felt that way after Tenet.
Yeah.
And then, we've had a number of doctors since. And one of the things I start to think about too, is I'm looking at, the number of seasons. Sometimes you get so emotionally attached to these characters, like David Tennant as a doctor or Matt Smith as a doctor, that you don't realize they only did 3 seasons.
Right.
It feels like so much more. Same thing with Capaldi, did 3 seasons. Jodie did 3 seasons. So it seems like it's a repetitive structure, but sometimes, as you mentioned in the, earlier with some of these doctors or some of these episodes, I think this was before we started recording. Sometimes these episodes feel like these seasons feel like they're going on forever. And sometimes they move too quick. And it's all because of the quality of the episode, which we're going to dive into. But before we do that, of course, I'm going to ask you guys who your favorite doctor is, but we're going to save that question for right before we do the top 5. I want to ask you guys first, favorite alien or villain of the series? Because, there's been so many. Obviously, you have the biggies like the Daleks, the Cybermen, the Weeping Angels. There are so many. Are there any that kind of stand out as your favorite that kind of get you excited when you know it's going to be an episode about these characters? I'll leave it open to whoever wants to jump in first on this one.
Yeah, Billy, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah. Man, I'm trying to think. It might seem like such a cop-out, but I always love the Dalek episodes. Honorable mention favorite would be the little adipose guys, the little chubby little alien. One of my kids happened to see me watching that a long time ago, and she thought it was super cute. So she actually has a little stuffed one, and I don't know, every time I go in a room, I see it and it makes me happy. But I'm going to go with Daleks. I like the Dalek episodes.
Okay. Sean, how about you? Any that kind of stand out?
I don't know if they'd be considered a villain necessarily, but the Sontaran character is always really I enjoyed because they definitely walk this gray line of helping the doctor, but they're like super aggressive. And I just think the comedic kind of contrast of their characters has always been really enjoyable. But I think if I had to name like my favorite villain, I think John Sims' portrayal of the Master in the Tenet arc was absolutely amazing. The episode where he like started inhabiting all the people, taking everyone over and like became the world. I mean, I thought that was just really creative, and I thought he portrayed it really excellently. It was really great to watch.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. How about companions? Because we've seen a number. I mean, I want to make it known to the listeners too. Yes, there are 60 years of Who. We are focusing primarily on the more modern. So Eccleston from Eccleston to beyond, because we're not old enough to have really watched all of the classic Who. So focusing more on the more modern Who, but switching again to companions, which again, as I mentioned, we've had a number of them over the course of just the modern Who. Any companions that stand out as a favorite? I'll jump in first on this one as well. Again, it's tough because we've seen a lot of them, but I gotta go with the Pawns. The Pawns were man, like I was just a favorite. I loved Amy and Rory, and I was sad to see them go, but I loved it every second they were around. Rory in particularly, because he became so much more of a stronger character. More and more it progressed into their story.
Yeah, I mean, I would second that. I mean, I thought Rory, his portrayal of like kind of the everyman character, you know, providing like the ordinary person's perspective in what was happening, right? He wasn't a superhero, didn't really have any powers or anything. And here he was married to, you know, this incredibly beautiful woman and up against, you know, in concept, you know, competing with the Doctor in a way. But him and Amy's relationship was just, you know, outstanding. And the fact that she always went back to Rory and, you know, just the way he showed up for her, I thought was really great. So, yeah, they were a great pair on the show.
Yeah. Billy, how about you?
Yeah, I love the ponds too. And I guess my answer is sort of a pond. It's Melody Pond,
Okay.
AKA River Song. I love River Song. She's really good with the comedic timing and just the way she says things. I love that we got introduced to her before we really knew her, and then getting to go back and fill in all that history, and then seeing her, you know, again in the future seasons, which time travel gets kind of crazy. But yeah, I'm gonna go with River Song.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Alex Kingston kind of knocked that role out of the park, and the things that they did with that character were just so phenomenally well done. You know, and we're going to make mention too, if you're listening to this, obviously you're a fan, but spoilers. We're going to talk about some stuff that happens over the course of the series that if you've never watched before, is going to be major spoilers.
Yep.
But that does lead us into the major question before we go into the top 5. Who is your favorite Doctor? There are a couple standouts. I mean, we've only had 5 so far. Maybe technically 6. With a 7th on the way. But where do we stand? Who is your favorite Doctor? Sean, kick it off.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it sounds like a cop-out, but I got to go with Tennant. I mean, like so many fans out there, I just absolutely fell in love with his portrayal of the Doctor. I've been fortunate enough to have seen him in a few cons, and just hearing his take on the fact that like he grew up as a kid watching and loving Doctor Who, and as an actor being given the opportunity to portray one of his favorite characters, I think really came through on screen. I mean, he genuinely enjoyed being there and doing what he was doing and playing that character. And I think he was like the perfect balance of being incredibly funny, also a little bit of charming, but also having this really deep, dark side that really, for me, embodies the history of the Doctor and the, you know, the character and where it's been and kind of where it's come to. And I just thought he did everything with that kind of grace and poise. And yeah, he was just really fun to watch.
Yeah. I mean, and you mentioned the fact that because I've heard him speak at shows before too. I've actually had the opportunity to meet him once or twice at shows as well. And he
hate you.
I know. I'm sorry. He is somebody who not only did he grow up with that love of Doctor Who and get to actually be a part of it, he married into it. In that his father-in-law is Peter Davidson, a former Doctor.
Right.
You know, so it's that alone right there just tells you the love that he has.
And his wife portrayed the Doctor's daughter.
The Doctor's daughter, yep.
And she was a Doctor's daughter. So the Doctor married the Doctor's daughter, who was really the Doctor's daughter. I mean, it just, you know, makes your head hurt.
But it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah,
to know.
absolutely.
Yeah, Georgia, who is his wife and was Peter Davidson's daughter. And I don't think it's a cop-out either to choose Tennant. I really don't. But Billy, how about you? Who is your favorite Doctor?
So the Tennant episodes made me fall in love with the show, but I think my favorite Doctor, based on when I really started to get emotionally invested, is Matt Smith. I think I mentioned earlier, I kind of binged all the way up to the beginning of his second season, and then that's when things slowed down a bit, and I had to, anxiously await new episodes. And something about that time frame just kind of made me fall in love with the guy. And man, when he regenerated, I shed a couple tears. I'm not gonna lie, it was very emotional, and we'll get into like our favorite episodes later. But he's a big part of a few of those. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Matt Smith.
You know what? I'm going to put him in I'm going to put him in the majority, because I go back and forth. I have been in the process of a full Doctor Who rewatch, gearing up for the anniversary specials that are going to be coming very shortly after this episode drops, as well as the new season that comes next year with the new Doctor. And in my rewatch, I go back and forth, because Tennant is a phenomenal actor portraying the Doctor. Sean, as you mentioned, there's so much emotion to his character. There's a little bit of a darkness that goes with it as well that kind of adds to that. But Matt Smith, I think I'm with you, Billy. Like, Tennant's regeneration was sad, but I audibly sobbed during Matt Smith's, because just that whole speech that he gives about, everybody lives multiple lives and it's what you do with them. And it's like, it was so poignant and moving. But even leading up to that, the humor that came with his character, the quirkiness that came with his character, I think I'm with you. I go back and forth, but in this moment right now, Matt Smith's my favorite Doctor. And no judgment to anybody out there who disagrees with that. I've heard people say Eccleston's their favorite Doctor, and they wish they got more of him. I've heard people say Jodie's their favorite. I've heard people say, Capaldi's their favorite. It's all a matter of how you perceive it. So,
yeah, absolutely. And I think just to pull on the thread a little bit more about the regeneration thing, I know for me, stepping into Doctor Who with Eccleston's regeneration was, I don't know what the word. It was kind of. It was almost comedic in a way. Like, he was kind of playing it off like this is just what happens to a Time Lord. Like, we do this thing. I think he called it like, this is our little trick to cheat death. And he was smiling and cracking jokes throughout the whole thing. And then Tennant's regeneration was completely the opposite. I mean, he was, like you guys were saying, it was super emotional. And I mean, his final line, right? The whole, I don't want to go thing, like on the verge of tears. I started watching this series kind of by myself, and then I sucked my wife into it and she got into it. And, we watched Eccleston regenerate, and then we get to Tennant's regeneration. We're both there just like bawling. And she's like, what happened? Like, when Eccleston regenerated, it wasn't anything like this. And now here's Tennant. I mean, it was much more of like a death scene, versus Eccleston was just kind of like, I'm going to transform. I'm going to be a different person kind of thing, where Tennant's was like, no, this is the end. I'm done. So I think it was that much more emotionally impactful because of the way they played it and the way they wrote the scene.
Yeah. When I talk to people and I want to introduce them to Doctor Who, because believe it or not, I actually just this week introduced. So for those of you that don't know, the day that we're recording this it's actually my birthday. So
happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
My mother was here earlier this week because we had dinner we went out for my birthday. And when she showed up to my house, I happened to be watching an episode of Doctor Who. I was watching a Matt Smith episode with Amy and Rory. And she walked in and she saw certain things on the screen. And she's like, what the hell are you watching? Which I totally get the reaction, because I probably would have had the same reaction. And then I kind of explained it to her. And I've been introducing her into more sci-fi. She's been watching the Marvel series because of me. She watched Eureka, which was a sci-fi show, which she actually really enjoyed. And I was like, I really think you might like Doctor Who if you kind of gave it a shot. And she's like, well, pitch it to me. So I kind of pitched it to her, and she's like, okay, so if I start it, where should I start? And there was a part of me that kind of wanted to say, start with season 2. But then I really thought about it, and she was like, well, why with season 2? And I said, because season 1 was kind of that introduction. It was bringing the old back and kind of transitioning it into its own voice, because by season 2 with Tennant, it kind of Who becomes a whole new thing. Yeah. So season 1 was kind of taking the quirkiness and the cheesiness of the old and mixing it with a little bit of the modern. So by season 2, it was, it was a whole new element. And I think that's one of the reasons why, getting back to the point with Tennant's regeneration compared to Eccleston's regeneration, is I think Eccleston's regeneration, one, was a little bitter pill because of everything that happened behind the scenes with Eccleston.
Sure.
On his way out, and why he didn't continue with the series. For those of you curious, just Google it. It's too much for us to dive into. And I think the quickness or the kind of jokiness of that regeneration into Tennant was kind of like they didn't have enough time to put the emotional elements behind it like they did with Tennant. It's one season compared to 3. It was more used as an element to introduce new viewers to what a regeneration is. So that by the time Tennant came around, we were now invested, and the writers were, okay, now we can play with the heartstrings a little bit in this regeneration. So at least that's my opinion. That's how I kind of look at things. So,
yeah, I mean, I think too, like Eccleston's season, there were some really fantastic episodes, and there were some really tough episodes to get through. Production value was not the best. You had some super campy kind of sequences and stuff, which I know was all kind of a throwback to the classic Who. But I think for a lot of folks, it's important to remember that the reason season 2, when Tennant's season really kind of took off, all that extra money that got invested in the show was a direct result of the work that Eccleston did. The audience he brought in, the viewership. The show just kind of like took off, in spite of itself, and that really enabled it to be successful going forward. So,
yeah, I think it almost took off at certain points to, I hate saying this, but I feel like there was a certain point where I felt like I was going, and Sean, you in particular, this is not a slight on you whatsoever, because I know you're a true fan. It felt like there was a point where I was going to conventions and I was working conventions, and 80% of the cosplay was some kind of Doctor Who cosplay. It was either Tennant, or it was Matt Smith, or it was a doctor, it was Rose Tyler, it was some kind of Doctor Who cosplay, and it was all young adults. It was all like 13 through 15, 16-year-olds. And I felt like if you went up to half of them and asked them, who is that? Oh, tell me something about that character. They couldn't tell you. Like, it became a little too, Doctor Who became a little too trendy at one point, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I think us living in the States, I don't know that we really get the total perspective of just like what Doctor Who means to the rest of the world. Like, I always kind of liken it to, what football is in Europe. Like, Doctor Who is huge in Europe. It's pretty big in America, but it's huge in Europe. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you get that. And I would say, as far as the cosplay goes, I think a lot of it just stems back to majority of the costumes in Doctor Who, like the characters are called like everyday wear. Like, if you look at, like, take Amy Pond as an example, she wears a lot of regular, call it street clothes, leather jackets, skirts, whatever. It's got a signature look, but it's not like a super elaborate, like an armored costume, like a knight or a stormtrooper or something that's super complicated. So I think it's attractive to a lot of cosplayers from that respect, in that you could go to like your local Goodwill and grab all the parts off the shelf to like throw together an Amy Pond or Rory or whatever character you're looking to do. So I think that's probably part of the attraction. And then you add to that it's an actual like comfortable cosplay costume to wear. So if you're at a con all day, you're on your feet, you're not super hot, wearing a helmet or anything super complicated. You get to walk around in like regular shoes and regular clothes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Billy, have you ever cosplayed any Doctor Who?
Yeah, a few years ago, my daughter and I did some Doctor Who cosplay. I was the Tom Baker 4th Doctor with the trench coat and the hat, and she was Osgood. We had the little lab coat on her. She was only 8 at the time.
That's amazing.
We had sort of matching scarves. My wife, our big Comic-Con in Kansas City is every March, and the Christmas beforehand that year, my wife knitted me a 14-foot long Tom Baker Doctor Who scarf, and I was just chomping at the bit to get to wear it to a convention, and then we kind of made my daughter match, and it was super cute and a lot of fun. And that was a cool convention because I got to meet Billie Piper and take a photo with her in my Doctor Who outfit, and as well as Catherine Tate, Donna Noble, and that was a fun convention.
I have, yeah. It's funny you talk about getting to meet Billie Piper. I'm actually looking at it as we're recording. I have two pictures on my wall. One of them is with Karen Gillan, and the other one is with Matt Smith. And the one with Matt Smith is actually one of my favorites because it's him and I back to back, both holding sonic screwdrivers.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, yeah, it's one of my favorite. I don't really buy the photo ops at cons anymore because I don't really have to.
Yeah.
I usually get to meet them backstage and take the candid photos with them, but that is one of my favorite photo ops I ever paid for.
It's funny. I'm jealous. I've met a ton of companions. So
no doctors?
No doctors yet. I've met, Captain Jack Harkness and Amy and Rory and Clara and Catherine Tate, Donna and Rose, but no doctors, and I'm so jealous.
You'll get your day. Your day will come. All right. I think that takes us into the meat of the conversation then, talking about, our favorite companions and such. We need to talk about our top 5 favorite episodes of the series. Again, we are talking about Modern Who, so this is anything from Christopher Eccleston on. And just a reminder, again, there will be spoilers as we will be discussing these episodes a little bit, so you're bound to hear something. So if you haven't watched, apologies ahead of time for those spoilers. But that being said, we're going to go from 5 to 1 revealing. And as always, if you're a new listener to the podcast or you just need to be reminded, neither Billie, Sean, or myself know what any of our top 5s are. We have not revealed them to each other ahead of time, so we will be learning our top 5s as we go along. That being said, starting off, number 5 of our top 5. Billie, why don't you kick us off? What is your number 5?
All right, it's funny. There's so many episodes. I'm going to say 5 of them, and I probably could have said 5 different ones and also meant it, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But my number 5 on this list, as it stands right now, was New Who, Season 4, Episode 8, and it's Silence in the Library.
That's a good one.
And for me, I love that one. I mentioned earlier, I just really love River Song, and this is when we meet her for the first time with no history. We don't know who she is yet. We get that iconic, creepy shadow creature in the astronaut suit. And just visually, it's an awesome episode. And getting to meet River, without really knowing how important she is, I probably... the later episodes made me appreciate this particular one more because we get to know her and all that stuff. But yeah, that's my number 5, Silence in the Library.
And that's a 2-parter as well. In that Forest of the Dead is the second part.
Yeah.
Of that episode, so you could even include that into it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a great episode. That was a Donna Noble episode.
Yeah.
Tennant and Donna. That was the "Hey, who turned out the lights?" episode. So no, I'll give you that one, and I'll tell you right now, that was in when I was putting together the master list of like 20 different episodes to choose from. That was in there. That was a potential for me as well.
Same.
So Sean, how about you? What is your number 5?
Sure. So I'll kind of caveat this was, when I went through and I made my list, probably no surprise that my top 5 were all Tennant episodes. So I was trying to diversify it a little bit. And I really love Jodie Whittaker as an actress. I mean, like, if you haven't watched Broadchurch, you can really watch her flex her acting chops on that show. And I think in some ways she was done a disservice in some of the writing during her stint as the Doctor. So my 5th favorite episode that I listed was out of one of her seasons. It was season 12, episode 5, which was The Fugitive of Jadoon. And the reason I picked that one was that was the introduction of the fugitive Doctor, along with Captain Jack. So if you've never seen John Barrowman at a convention, he is... I kind of view him, he's like my polar opposite. Like, I'm very much an introverted conservative person. Barrowman is like the, exemplary extrovert. And I really envy that about him. I mean, he's just so enjoyable to see. And the way he interacts with the fans was really great. But I really love the concept of the fugitive Doctor that they introduced in that as long as Doctor Who's been on, we're still learning new things about the history of the character. And even from the character's perspective, they're learning new things about themselves that they didn't know. So maybe in the grand scheme of things, it really wasn't like a top 5-ish, but I think in Jodie's stint, to me, that was like one of the more intriguing episodes that they did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the great thing about these top 5 episodes too is that we're not choosing episodes that we think are like the top 5 great, like in our opinions, are like the top 5 greatest episodes of all time. We're choosing episodes that are more meaningful to us, ones that we enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. The episodes that we choose, like that one, it might not necessarily be listed in some of the greatest episodes of all time, but they stuck out to us for some reason.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I'm with you. I really enjoyed Jodie as a doctor as well. And I'm exactly with you. I looked at my first initial list. I was like, these are all the same doctor. Like I need to shake this up a little bit. So I tried my best as well to kind of diversify the list. So with that said, my number 5 is actually a Peter Capaldi episode. And it is one that I felt was just really excellent. And the way it was done, it is a season 8, episode 4. It's wrong one. Season 9, episode 11, an episode called Heaven Sent. And if you need to be reminded, this is the episode where it is just Peter Capaldi. It is him. There's a small scene with Jenna coming back as Clara, but this is a moment after Clara her story has ended. He is dealing with this, and this is the episode where he is in that kind of tower that is constantly changing and rotating. And by the end of it, you realize it is him just living a loop for billions of years until he can break through a wall to escape. And I just thought this was dark, and the performance of Capaldi to be able to tell such a captivating story in an episode by himself, I thought was just incredibly well done. So that's why it stands out, and that's why it is in my my top 5. That said, moving on, number 4 on your list, Billy, what you got?
All right, so number 4, it was one of the specials, one of the Christmas specials, and it's with Peter Capaldi. It was the episode called Twice Upon a Time, and it's the one that opens up with the first Doctor, played by, why am I drawing a blank on the actor's name? From Harry Potter and...
John Hurt?
No.
I was going to say, you said from Harry Potter.
He played Filch, the groundskeeper. The guy that played the first Doctor in the...
Yeah, I can't remember the actor.
That's my bad, guys.
No, it's totally fine. I'm blanking on the actor's name, too.
But it opens up with the first Doctor, and then, eventually meets up with Peter Capaldi's Doctor, and they're both kind of going through a little bit of an existential crisis in their own rights. And
David Bradley.
David Bradley, yes, thank you.
My Google foo wasn't fast enough.
Yeah. But yeah, just any of the episodes where a newer Doctor and an older Doctor encounter, those are, well, not spoiler, but not spoiler. You're going to see that I like a lot of those episodes. But same. Yeah, just getting to see the first Doctor and then at the time the latest Doctor work together was such a cool thing to me. And they're not supposed to cross their own timelines, but they do it all the time, and
they do it constantly.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my number 4. Getting to see that interaction was just really cool to me.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I didn't have this in my top 5, but it was definitely on the list and kind of dropped down a little bit. But yeah, the contrast of seeing like the modern Doctor, especially with like the first Doctor, and the way they brought him back and, had David Bradley portray him, I thought was really well done and super entertaining to watch.
And this is also the episode that at the end, stuff goes down and he regenerates into Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, and we get introduced to her, and that one kind of shook the world, So yeah, that was a big one for me.
And I'm with you. I kind of agree. The whole David Bradley casting as the first Doctor I thought was pretty brilliant, because the resemblance is really uncanny.
Eerie.
Yeah. Eerie's a better word for it. It's incredibly close.
And they had a few months before or something like that, they did that documentary where he played the actor that was portraying the first Doctor in this documentary. or docu-series type thing, and you kind of see the reasoning they decided to go with a regeneration theme, and it had to do with the actor's mental health in the real world. But then they went back and got David Bradley to actually play the first Doctor in an actual episode, and I thought that was super cool.
Yeah. Sean, how about you? Number 4.
So number 4 is an episode from Tennant's tenure. Season 4, episode 1, Partners in Crime. This is, I think, Billie brought it up before. This is the adipose episode. I just really love this episode. For me, it was one of the, I'll say, few kind of really like truly episodic episodes of the show where it was kind of standalone on its own, where it wasn't like part of a huge arc, except where Donna Noble returned. So, the Doctor and Donna had done their journey. They kind of separated. And that reunion scene where the Doctor's like popping up behind the window and Donna's behind the door, and they see each other and they make eye contact and they're like mouthing the words. I don't know that I laughed that hard at a Doctor Who episode before, but the two of them playing off each other, and you get totally sucked into their exchange, and then it's immediately broken by the villain character who's like, "Are you two done yet?" Yeah. And it was just like, as an observer of the show, you get pulled into that exchange, and then you immediately get jarred out of it. Like, oh yeah, there's like really serious stuff going on right now. And so that scene to me was like, out of all of Doctor Who, that scene stands out to me, definitely in the top 5 just by itself. But the episode on the whole, I thought was just generally enjoyable. I thought it was a really funny play on, the general struggle with weight gain and what people do to try to lose weight, and just how crazy some of the things are that people will try. And the way they took that concept and made it into a Doctor Who episode, I thought was really well done.
Yeah. And I'm with you on that, the whole Dr. Donna Noble scene as well. That's another scene that makes me laugh every time I watch it. And it's funny watching the interaction between the two of them, but then the absolute like punchline of that scene is when, as you mentioned, you realize the villain has been watching this whole thing play out the whole time, and they just didn't even realize it because they were so engaged with each other.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with a special for mine as well. My number 4 is I'm actually going with the 50th anniversary special, The Day of the Doctor. I thought this was such a monumental episode. And so, talk about crossing their own timelines. This is like to the nth degree of crossing their own timelines, because you have not 1, not 2, but 3 Doctors as the main focus of the story until the end of the episode, where you have 14 Doctors all together coming together for a major plot. And this was a special that they did, as I mentioned, for the 50th anniversary. This was one of 2, the second being The Time of the Doctor, which was Matt Smith's final episode, which aired after this, and I believe was the Christmas episode of this particular season. But just seeing Tennant return, seeing him and Matt Smith come together, their chemistry was absolutely fantastic together. And John Hurt, man, was just getting that introduction to the War Doctor, finding out that there was learning as fans that there was another iteration of the Doctor, because we were always led to believe that, it went from one to the other and there was none in between of this particular one. I'm trying to remember who was the 8th Doctor.
Paul McGann.
Thank you. Yeah. We were always led to believe that it went from Paul McGann to Chris Eccleston. Finding out that's not the case. John Hurt was in between as the War Doctor, and it was really great storytelling. It was a great way to celebrate the 50 years of that show. And knowing how good that special was makes me incredibly excited for the specials they're going to give us for the 60th. Because they're giving us 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah, and as someone who jumped into Doctor Who, starting with Eccleston, I think that was the first time they had the 2 Doctors together, like on screen again. And being a Tennant fan, like, I always joke with people whenever they get to the end of one of the actors' runs and they're like, oh, they're about to announce the new Doctor. I always joke like, oh, I hope it's David Tennant. So when they announced that David Tennant was coming back for the 50th, I was like, oh, this is going to be nuts. And I thought similarly, I thought the contrast between him and Smith was great. I mean, the scenes where they're like showing off their sonic screwdrivers to one another and just the little jokes about, timey wimey, like where does he get stuff like that? I mean, it was just I thought it was really entertaining the way there was a little self-deprecation there, but it was all kind of in good fun. And then I mean, the late legendary John Hurt's portrayal of the War Doctor, just absolutely phenomenal, and brought such a seriousness to like the Doctor's backstory. Like we kind of all went along and heard, this is what the Doctor's been through. These are the tough decisions that they've had to make. This is the burden they carry. And the fact that they put all of that weight on John Hurt's shoulders and he carried it so well and portrayed it so well as an actor, it was just phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was such incredible storytelling in the sense that, we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier about how, you talk about, Jodie Whittaker and how we learn as fans about the Doctor as we progress. We still learn more and more. And even the Doctor themselves learns more and more about themselves as they go. This was a really special moment because we had always known that the Doctor was the one that had destroyed his own people. He was the last of his kind because of himself. Only to realize now by the end that wasn't the case. Gallifrey still exists. And that gets explored later, into Capaldi's season and everything. We actually get to see Gallifrey. We get to see more of the Time Lords. And that's all because of that 50th anniversary special kind of really opened up so much more storytelling that was about to come, through Capaldi, who was about to regenerate. And they even gave us a tease of Capaldi in that episode. Yep. They showed us his eyes.
Yep.
Because they were like, oh, there's 13 of them. No, 14. And then they show us Capaldi's eyes.
Yeah.
Which was nice.
I remember we had a watch party at our house with some friends who also love the show. And when that moment happened and you just see the eyes, we all were like, we all screamed. It was awesome.
I remember they made a huge deal about the announcing of the next Doctor when Matt Smith was leaving and Capaldi was getting announced. Like they were having, because I think it was happening right around the 50th anniversary. So they were making, it was a big deal. And I remember watching live, like waiting for the announcement and everything. And I don't feel like they do that anymore. They don't put as much pop and circumstance into it, but it was still fun when it was there.
Yeah.
All right. Into our top three. Billy, number 3.
All right, number 3. This was sort of mentioned earlier in some of our talks when we started, but I'm going to go with The End of Time Parts 1 and 2 as my number 3. As was mentioned earlier, John Sims' portrayal as the Master was top tier Master. It was so good. He was very, he looks like an every man's man, but he's pure evil, and just kind of. Am I wrong thinking is this the first time we get the Master in Doctor Who in the New Who?
I think so.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, this is like our big introduction to this character that's come back many, many times, even though, he's dead, but like, nope, he's not dead. But yeah, getting to meet this character was awesome. And I believe these were Donna Noble episodes, right?
Yeah.
Yes, they were. Yeah, they were Donna Noble episodes, and I'll even say, because I remember posting this on Facebook as I was in the middle of my rewatch. It made me really wish that we got Doctor and Wilfred episodes.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Because Wilfred was a huge part of the End of Time.
Yeah,
and it made me wish we had a little bit of a run seeing Wilfred as the companion for a little bit.
Yep, and also this one holds some weight for me because this is when. At the end of part 2, this is the very sad, I don't want to go scene. And David Tennant regenerates into who became my favorite Doctor, Matt Smith. And it's a very emotional from start to finish episode.
Yeah, I agree. Seeing him kind of make the rounds after he knows he's going to regenerate, see him go back and make the rounds and revisit Rose.
Yep.
Revisit Martha and everybody just, kind of like his final silent goodbyes was just, you're right. There's just so much emotion to that. I don't want to take away the fact when I mentioned how much more I felt Matt Smith's departure was than Tennant's. I don't want that to mean or take away anything from Tennant's departure. It's incredibly emotional.
Is this also the episode when he's going back and revisiting everyone, when he runs into Captain Jack and he says something about the face of Bo they used to call me, or something like that? Is that when we learn that he's the face of Bo, or is that a different episode?
No, that's him. That's him and Martha.
Okay, I couldn't remember. I could not remember, but that was another cool moment that I was rattling around in the back of my head.
Oh yeah, I remember that moment when Captain Jack says that about the face of Bo they called me, and like him and Martha just kind of giving each other that look, like, oh, something even the Doctor didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely I had this episode on my honorable mentions because I think it was just a fantastic two-parter. The thing that really struck me with this one was, and all the chaos that was going on at the very end of it, the thing that ultimately, whatever you want to call it, killed the Doctor or caused, Ten to regenerate was his sacrifice to save Wilfred.
Yep.
I mean, all the stuff going on with the Master and trying to save the world, like somehow he navigated that whole thing. And I don't want to say got out of it unscathed, because he didn't. His suit was all ripped up and, he was all scratched up and bloody and stuff. But the thing that ultimately caused him to have to regenerate was a sacrifice to save Wilfred. And to me, it was just like, you go through that kind of climax of the story, and then you're kind of coming down a little bit. You're like, oh, he kind of got through it. And then that scene happens, and you're like, you hear the knock on the glass. Yep. I mean, I still get choked up just thinking about it, but you hear the knock on the glass, and like Tennant does that whole monologue, which to me always struck me as it was like a balance of how unimportant Wilfred was as a human, and that, as the Doctor, he could have gone on to do so much more and saved so many more people and done all these great things. And then the way he turned it around, it was like, no, this is my honor to do this to save you. I mean, it was just like, just get the tissues, emotional roller coaster to the max kind of thing. So
you get me a little choked up right now.
Yeah.
Oh, you're making me go back on whether or not Matt Smith or David Tennant's departure was more emotional. Because you're right. I feel like the Wilfred element of Tennant's departure was the biggest emotional draw of that.
Yeah.
One of the challenges of the Doctor throughout his entire existence, as we watch, is that he has a hard time when he's not able to save people. He struggles with that.
Yeah.
When he has to lose people along the way, whether it's a companion or just random people he met along the way, he wishes he could save everyone and he can't, and he struggles when he can't do it. So for him to make that sacrifice to save one, it held a lot. Yeah. It held a lot of poignancy to it. So I really hope we get to see Bernard Cribbins in these anniversary specials in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if we will, because I know he did pass, I think last year, I think. I can't remember. But I hope we get to see Wilfred again in some way.
For sure.
Who was that? That was Billie, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I lost track because that is it. That is in my honorable mentions as well. I'll mention that too. So, Sean, how about you? Number 3.
Yeah, so number 3 is actually a Matt Smith episode, if you can believe that. For me, again, this goes back to one of those, like, I don't know if it was in the Doctor Who, top episode list, but it was definitely one that jumped out at me, and that was season 5, episode 10, Vincent and the Doctor, where the Doctor and Amy travel back in time and they meet the artist Vincent van Gogh. This one kind of jumped out at me because, one, it was one of those instances where the Doctor's path crosses with a famous historical figure, which to me was always really interesting and entertaining. But the way that Van Gogh was portrayed as struggling with his mental health, and that was really the impetus for a lot of his artwork, especially in today's world where, we're facing this, mental health crisis, to look back on one of the world's most historical figures, one of the world's most famous artists, and understand that a lot of that was a result of the mental struggles he had, really resonates with me in today's world. And then the end scene where the Doctor takes Vincent van Gogh to the present day and takes him to the museum and asks the curator, like, what do you think of Vincent van Gogh? And he like lays out about how he was like the most talented artist in the, history of art and all this stuff. And, the tear going down Van Gogh's cheek. I mean, it was just an emotionally touching scene. And I thought was really just kind of speaks volumes to the Doctor's core character, which, like Ben was saying before, he's always trying to help people. And that help comes in a lot of different forms. Sometimes it's saving the world, it's defeating the Daleks, and other times it's making someone understand how important they actually were when they thought they weren't important at all. Mm-hmm. And that, I mean, I thought that episode was beautifully done.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I'm with you on that one. I feel like, seeing Bill Nighy being brought into the world of Doctor Who was fantastic as the curator. Tony Curran knocked it out of the park as Van Gogh. I mean, it was such a believable portrayal to me as well. But yeah, seeing him cross paths with somebody from history was just a great experience. So for my number 3, I'm actually going with a Matt Smith episode as well, and it is a 2-parter. I am going with season 5, episodes 12 and 13, The Pandorica Opens and The Big Bang. This is really, I talked a little bit about how the Ponds being my favorite companions, and that includes Melody Pond in that as well. The whole River Song storyline with Amy and the Doctor and Rory and Melody was so convoluted, but not in a bad way. Like, it was not convoluted in a bad way at all. It was convoluted that just made it incredibly intriguing to know that River Song was Melody Pond, aka Amy and Rory's daughter, aka the Doctor's wife. Like, there's so much that happens to the point where you like to see it all kind of come together into this amazing 2-part episode, and finding out like time is existing all at once because they tried to change a fixed point in time. You're led to believe this entire season throughout season 5 that by the end of this season the Doctor dies, because that's what you see in the beginning. As a fan, you hope as a fan that's not the case. They're going to find a way to fix it. And then they lead you to believe that fixing it just destroys the universe, until you get that incredibly clever twist that he was in the Tesselector, a doctor wearing a doctor suit. And that was his way of kind of getting away from it while making the world believe he was gone. Because he needed to kind of, as he says, he needed to fly under the radar. He got a little too loud. And I thought that was, 1, excellent storytelling, but 2, a great way to kind of ground the series a little bit. They were doing these big bombastic stories, which worked, but now they could kind of pull back a little bit by the way they ended that, going into the future season, going into season 6 with Matt Smith and Amy and Rory. So that 2-part episode is just one that stands out to me as one of my favorites, especially the end. And it is really, this is another thing I explained to my mom when I was trying to pitch her on the series. I told her, I was like, nobody knows the Doctor's name. And she's like, nobody? I was like, well, his wife knows his name. I was like, but that's about it. She's like, oh, they've never, like, but the fans know it. I'm like, no, the fans don't even know the Doctor's name. At least I don't think it's ever been revealed to the fans, right? It's still a mystery.
Right.
And she's like, so the title of the show is actually a question. I was like, yeah, the title of the show is actually a question, because that's the question that's asked at the end of that episode, is Doctor Who? And that's what we get. So I felt like that was a long description as to why that episode was in my top 3. All right, that brings us into top 2 favorite episodes. This is where it's going to start to get interesting.
Yeah.
Because we might overlap with some. We might not. I don't know. But Billy, what do you got number 2?
Okay, my number 2, here's where we begin to overlap a bit. It is Sean's number 3. It's Vincent and the Doctor. All the reasons he said, I want to echo them. But yeah, just getting to see I feel like this is my reasoning for a lot of the episodes, but it was such an emotional gut punch at the end. And kind of like Sean said, he's not always just saving literal universes and worlds. He's saving people and their mental state and their own well-being and making them see their own value. And that's kind of what he did. And it was like another, a double gut punch when you go back and find that, well, the whole time you're wondering, like, is he going to change history? But no, his life still ended the way it ended. And it was just such an emotional episode. And I won't say too much more because it's already been said, but that's my number 2, the Vincent and the Doctor episode.
Okay, fair enough. Sean, how about you? Number 2.
So I'm going to go with season 4, episode 2, which is the Fires of Pompeii. Similar to the Vincent and the Doctor episode, the Doctor crossing paths with a huge historical event was really intriguing. But this is kind of where you get, one of the Doctor's rules about how he doesn't like to influence time, or that there's fixed moments in the timeline that he can't really change. But I thought what was really great about this episode where, this is where he's with Donna, and Donna, as kind of the observer, really pushes him to his limits. And she really forces him to do something, like recognizing he can't stop the eruption and save all of Pompeii. She utters the phrase, just save someone, like do something. And that's where the Doctor kind of makes the play, and he saves a family, which interestingly enough, the father of the family is played by Peter Capaldi. Yep. Who I thought was really cool how they kind of played that a little bit when Capaldi regenerated. I think he said something to the effect of like, a lot of times I regenerate into a face I've seen before, I forget exactly what the words were, but they definitely kind of pulled that thread, through Capaldi's regeneration. But not only do you get Peter Capaldi in that episode, but also Karen Gillan is one of the kind of background actors who she obviously comes back as one of Matt Smith's companions. So it was really, at the time, obviously no one knew that they were going to be back on the show, but to go back and like do a rewatch or like see them again for the first time in a way was really exciting. But for me, the episode was just, it's great interplay between the Doctor and Donna. And again, Donna really challenging the Doctor's value system and forcing him to make a choice that he probably wouldn't have made if he was there by himself. But in a way, I think makes him, quote unquote, a better Doctor, and that he actually chose to do something, have an impact, and save someone's life in one of like the most tragic historical events. So yeah, that was mine. The Fires of Pompeii.
I thought it would have been interesting too, had they actually maybe at some point while Amy was the companion kind of played around with it, similar to the way they did with Capaldi once Capaldi became the Doctor. Just have Amy nonchalantly say like, oh yeah, and this one time I went undercover in Pompeii. Just to kind of make it seem like, like, oh, that's a nice little kind of throwback that they did for fun. But I'm just going to go right into my number 2 because, believe it or not, my number 2 is also the Fires of Pompeii.
Yes.
It is. It took me a second watch. Upon first watch of Doctor Who, I was not really sold on Donna. Donna was kind of like towards the bottom of my favorite companions because we were just getting off of Rose as well, Rose and Martha. So I was so still attached to Rose as a companion because she was such a phenomenal companion that I enjoyed Martha, but Donna was just a little too over the top for me. And then upon the second watch of Doctor Who, the first rewatch, I got to the Fires of Pompeii and I really realized how important and how strong of a character Donna Noble really is. Yeah. That episode is what really sold me on Donna to the point where I really enjoyed her more and more as I progressed through the rewatch. So, similar to everything that you had said too about crossing paths and not wanting to change history and Donna kind of making the Doctor a better person and forcing him to save somebody. I share all those sentiments, but at the same time, this is the episode that really sold me on Donna and really made me a fan of Donna Noble. And not only Donna Noble, but Catherine Tate.
Sure. Yeah.
Because it was a great performance by Catherine Tate as well.
Yeah.
In that episode.
Absolutely. I mean, I think across the board, all the companions, had their kind of ups and downs, puts and takes, whatever you want to call it. I think for me, where I really enjoyed Donna was Donna was kind of like the down to earth, every person kind of observer. Like she's the regular, like Rose was kind of like got sucked into the doctor's, river, and no pun intended, and kind of like evolved into, she became a very crucial person in the doctor's journey in what he was doing. And very similar, Martha was kind of the same way. She got pulled in as, a companion, and then eventually had like this huge role. Like Donna to me was just, and I don't mean to downplay, but I think her attraction to me was like she was a regular person. She doesn't have any superpowers, but like she doesn't take any, I don't know, do you curse on your podcast?
No, yeah.
She doesn't take any shit from anybody. Yeah. Even the doctor. I mean, there's all those exchanges between them where like the doctor says, I forget what episode it is, but he says something like, I'm just looking for a mate. She's like, I'm not going to mate with you, spaceman. And like, just the way she ribs on him, and like, it's not disrespect. It's just like, she doesn't look at the doctor as being like this super important, I'm the savior of the world kind of person. She just views him as being, he's another guy off the street. He's like, living his life. I'm living my life, and I'm going to tell you what I think, regardless of how important you think you are of yourself. And that's what I always loved about Donna's characters. She called everyone on all their bullshit, and I loved it.
The number of times that she grounded the doctor, like every time he felt he was high and mighty, and she just pulled him right back. Like it was so brilliantly done. Catherine Tate did a phenomenal performance, and I'm really excited to see, because her character does end in somewhat of a tragic way. Her character's story ends in some, I don't want to say her character ends because she's still alive. We're going to see her in the anniversary specials, but the way her story ends is kind of sadly tragic a little bit, that she's not going to remember any of it. And if she does, it could kill her.
I'm anxious to see how they play with that in this anniversary special.
Yeah. I am too. I'm very curious how they're going to play with it.
And I saw Catherine Tate came to Denver a few years ago. And the thing I love about Catherine Tate as an actress is, the Doctor Who fandom is very strong and devoted and emotionally invested. And a lot of the questions that Doctor Who actors get are very in-depth. Like, season 4, episode 8, you said this, and then the doctor said that, and that didn't make sense because 3 episodes ago you said this. Like, Catherine Tate is not swept into any of that, and she just totally plays it off. Like, somebody asked her a question, and she was like, oh dear, I don't remember any of that. And she like gave the person a hug and like went right on to the next question. So it's hilarious to watch her. I mean, she's such a strong comedic presence. But the way she embraces and loves the Doctor Who fandom, but also like doesn't take it too seriously, I really enjoy. So
yeah, I actually to the point where like I was starting to appreciate Donna Noble and Catherine Tate to the point where once she joined the cast of The Office in the final seasons, I was actually really excited for it. And she's a great addition. She's a great addition to the cast in the end of for the end of the series.
Yeah, I mean, the scene that really sticks out to me, I forget what episode it's in, but Donna goes on a little bit of a tirade about how I'm not this super important person, but, I'm Donna Noble and I'm, this is me. And the doctor's just kind of standing next to her and he kind of makes this little smirk, like recognizing she's just a human. She's not a superhuman. She doesn't have any powers, but she's a super strong person. And, that, again, as an observer of the show, like seeing the show through Donna's eyes, I thought that was just a great scene.
And I'll add this too, and then we'll kind of wrap up and we'll go into our number ones. The other thing I really learned to appreciate about Donna Noble as a companion, from not just from this episode, but from future episodes too, is, with the Doctor and Rose, there started to become like a romantic connection between the two of them. With the Doctor and Martha, there was, feelings developing on Martha's end, not necessarily the Doctor's.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of tension.
A little bit of the tension there. But between the Doctor and Donna, there was nothing.
Yeah, in a way, I mean, like their relationship was platonic, but I also thought their dynamic was almost like an old married couple. Yeah. Like they were constantly giving each other crap, like, I'm not taking your crap, you're not going to take my crap, and back and forth. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I thought that was fantastic. All right. that leads us into our number one picks for our top 5 favorite episodes. Billy, number 1.
It's a shame that 2 of us have to be wrong, but
Right. Yeah. So, just like my number 2, my number 1 has already been mentioned. It is a very special episode, The Day of the Doctor.
Okay.
That one is just so fun to me. And again, I can't say something that's hasn't already been said, but just getting to see the interactions between Matt Smith and David Tennant and the banter they had, getting to see characters we've been recently getting to know interact with both of them, and then, like you said, at the end, getting to see all the Doctors plus the new one that we haven't even been introduced to yet. It was just such a fun episode, and it's the only episode. Well, I shouldn't say only. There's been a few. I should say it's the episode I've watched the most. I went back and watched that episode so many times just because of how good it made me feel. But yeah, The Day of the Doctor, that's my number 1.
I actually rewatched that episode this past week, and you talk about the great banter between the two of those, between Tennant and Smith. Like, one of my favorite scenes in that is where they both put on glasses, and then they turn and they look at each other, and they're like, "Oh," like, because they're just admiring each other's glasses. It's just so playful, and it's so much fun. And yeah, I'm with you on that. I love that episode.
If I do have one criticism of that episode, and this is coming from a 10th Doctor cosplayer, I don't know who did David Tennant's hair for that episode, but I hope they got fired, because to me, Tennant's hair was like a key element of his character. And I don't know what they were thinking with his hair in that episode, but it wasn't like the 10th Doctor to me. But it was still a great episode nonetheless.
It felt a little, I'm actually going to agree with you. It felt a little flat.
No pun intended. It was flat.
Yeah. It was a little flat. I mean, I agree with you. So,
I forgot to mention my favorite classic Doctor is Tom Baker. And then at the end, we get the curator of the museum, who is played by Tom Baker. And there's that whole mystery of, what the heck's going on here? And he makes the comment, who knows? And he touches his nose, and it's like, is this him? Like, what's going on? and then he makes the comment about maybe revisit some old faces. And then, of course, his next regeneration is Peter Capaldi, who is a face we've seen before. And then now we're getting David Tennant back. So this whole idea of he can take on an old face again. When I saw Tom Baker, that was probably my, other than the whole all the Doctors working together moment, and you think the episode's over, then you get that whole thing. I remember, again, having a watch party with friends, and we all were like, what the heck? That's Tom Baker. But yeah, that was pretty cool too.
And I do like the fact too, as well, that it's, it's one of those things you talk about, seeing Tom Baker and playing with the whole, I was behind on the Jodie seasons. I was, I wasn't caught up, but I still made sure to watch the end, because I wanted to see the regeneration into the new Doctor. And then we get the whole blown mind surprise that it's David Tennant again. And I was like, well, is this going to be like another situation like the War Doctor, where this is an in-between? And the writers have come out and confirmed, like, no, he is the 14th Doctor.
Yep.
And the new Doctor is going to be the 15th Doctor. So I love that 10 years ago they were playing with the revisiting old faces.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of wonder if they knew they were going to do it, or if this was just something they just decided to go with within the past couple of years. I don't know. We shall see. Sean, your number 1 episode.
Yeah, so no surprise, it's a David Tennant episode. Season 3, episode 10, Blink.
Of course.
So
someone had to choose it as their number 1.
Yeah, this I think Ben, you were talking about, introducing people to Doctor Who. When people ask me, I'm kind of interested in Doctor Who, like, what should I watch? Say, if you're going to casually just like try to dip your toe into it, I always recommend the episode Blink. For a couple of reasons. One, I think it's a little bit different from a typical Doctor Who episode, in that it's very much done from the perspective of like a totally, call it an innocent bystander, and kind of, that crossroads with running into the doctor, right? That it's not a doctor's up front and prominent throughout the whole episode. It starts with, them watching the recording of the doctor and like, what is he talking about? And so like that dynamic, the way they did it a little bit differently, I thought was really interesting. And then of course, they introduce, in my opinion, one of the greatest villains in all of Doctor Who, which is the Weeping Angels. Mm-hmm. It really, for me, kind of, I think fundamentally at its core, any good writing plays on the fundamental, like kind of human condition. And for me, the Weeping Angels just play at core fears that everybody has, like being in the dark, not being able to move, not being able to close your eyes, like not sure where the threat is coming from. And then just like the old kind of ancient statue look that always kind of had a creepy element to it. And now they took that and they made it into a villain. I thought was absolutely brilliant. The whole episode start to finish was just a great ride, super entertaining. And to me, it's like the epitome of what Doctor Who is.
There's a reason why it's not my number one. So it is not in my number 5.
Well, it's okay to be wrong.
I know. So here's my thing. Like when it comes to recommending episodes, and I'm kind of all of the things that you mentioned are absolutely true. I agree with you. Blink is the epitome of great episodes when it comes to Doctor Who. The storytelling is incredibly creative. The villains are frightening. The characters, Carey Mulligan playing Sally Sparrow, the characters are engaging. It is a great story with an introduction to a character we're going to get many more stories out of later on. The reason why I don't use that episode when I recommend Doctor Who to people is because it is such a departure from other Doctor Who episodes, because there's not a lot of Doctor in it. And so for that reason, and I've seen this firsthand. I actually tried introducing a friend to Doctor Who. I showed him Blink. We have a system where if we're trying to introduce each other to a new show, we pick 3 episodes of that show and recommend them. And if you can't get them in 3 episodes, you're not going to get them.
That's fair.
And at the same time, I was introducing him to Doctor Who. He was introducing me to Seinfeld, and I've never watched Seinfeld because I couldn't get into it. And he never watched Doctor Who. I showed him Blink, and he highly enjoyed it. And then I showed him 2 other episodes, and they were so different from Blink that he couldn't get into watching Doctor Who.
Interesting.
So I feel like, using that episode to recommend to people to watch works for some people. I don't feel like it works for everybody.
Sure.
Because of the departure. So I don't use it. And because, exactly like you said, because it is such a departure, it's one of the reasons why it's not in my top 5. It is the top of the list of my honorable mentions. I'll tell you that, because it is an episode you can't not mention it when you're talking about favorites. But for the reasons that you said, you recommend it. That's the reasons that I don't. If that makes sense.
That's what's great about Doctor Who.
Right? Everybody can take different things. So that brings me to my number 1, and it is an episode that has already been mentioned, which we knew there was going to be some overlap. My number 1 is a Matt Smith episode. It is the one episode that from the first time I saw it, no episode has even touched it as far as, this might be my new favorite episode. It is season 5, episode 10, Vincent and the Doctor. We all 3 of us have it on our list. And for good reason. That episode is just phenomenally well done. And it's one of those episodes that doesn't matter how many times I watch it, it gets me emotional every time I watch it.
Absolutely.
Same. And I really don't know what else I can say that hasn't already been said about the episode. But Vincent and the Doctor, my number 1. So that leads us into some honorable mentions, which I'm sure we all have a bunch. We can go through these relatively quickly. We don't have to spend a lot of time on these, but we'll go. Each of us will go in turn, name 1, maybe 2, and then we'll go through until we have all the ones that we kind of have lined up. Billy, what's 1 or 2 of your honorable mentions?
Let's see a couple here. The time of the Doctor, getting to see, that The episode where Matt Smith regenerates, and that whole speech he gives at the end is so good.
So good.
And I also put the Husbands of River Song. This is a Peter Capaldi episode, when this is a face River hasn't met before, so he gets to play from his point of view, play around with her until she finally gets that connection. And man, I love that episode too. And I only put one more. I'll go ahead and say it. It was the you already said it, the 2-part, the Pandorica and the Big Bang episodes. That was on my honorable mentions too. I almost put that on there, but yeah, I could have put 20 more easily, but that's the 3 I wrote down.
Sean, we might as well just list them all as we go through. Sean, what honorable mentions do you have on your list?
Well, like we said, you guys hit a couple of them. The End of Time, the 60th special, the Husbands of River Song were all good. A couple of ones we didn't mention yet. Doomsday. So that was the episode where Rose and the 10th Doctor had to part ways. That one just sticks out to me emotionally. Like I mentioned, I was kind of catching up to Doctor Who on Netflix. I won't mention who I was working for at the time, but I was working a night shift where we didn't have too much going on. So I was watching some Doctor Who. And of course, I was working like 12-hour night shifts. And I was somewhere in the middle of like a week long of doing this. So I was pretty tired. And then I'm watching this episode. So I'm on my laptop. I got my headphones in. I'm in this room of like 10 other people. And I'm just sitting there like quietly sobbing to myself, like just sitting there, like trying not to make a noise, like trying not to whimper out loud. But I was like, and just like tears coming down my cheek. So for me, that's like one of those things that I'll probably will never forget. Another good one for me early on in Tennant's tenure, The Girl in the Fireplace, where he meets Madame de Pompadour. I thought that one was really fun. And those robot Renaissance character things were so creepy. I still have nightmares about them. Let me see what else I got on the list. And then, I think the Angels Take Manhattan. That's a Matt Smith episode. That's sadly where we see Amy and Rory depart. That really got me on my heartstrings. I mean, being married, Amy and Rory's relationship, resonates with me in a lot of different ways. But the fact that we lost them. The fact that, they exited the show the way they did. And at the end, it was all about them trying to be together, really tug on my heartstrings pretty strongly. So yeah, that's it for me.
I'm now realizing too, that one of the episodes I gave a description of is totally not the episode. The episode that I mentioned, the Pandorica opens and the Big Bang is, not the episode where we find out about Amy Pond and Melody Pond being Amy and Rory's daughter. That is the Wedding of River Song, which is season 6, episode 13, which is on my honorable mentions. So that was one of the reasons why I'm looking at my list and I'm like, wait a minute, Wedding of River Song? No, that's the one where we find out who Amy
River's
Pond
whole story arc is so convoluted.
Right? That's what I mean. Even I got confused. But looking at my honorable mentions list, End of Time is one that was on mine. The Girl in the Fireplace was on my list as well. The Time of the Doctor, Doomsday, also on my wedding list. Jesus. Now I'm starting to get convoluted in what I'm talking about. The ones, though, that haven't been mentioned that are on my honorable mentions. Of all the Christmas specials, the A Christmas Carol is one of my favorite ones because it is, honestly, it's where, Matt Smith decides to give somebody their own Christmas Carol. The Wedding of River Song, which I just mentioned. An early David Tennant episode, season 3, episode 3 with Martha, Gridlock, where they're in the underground, where there's traffic underground and Tennant starts hopping from car to car.
That was a fun one.
And then the only other one I'll mention for my honorable mentions, because I think this one almost made my top 5. Season 6, episode 4, The Doctor's Wife. This was such a unique and imaginative episode, written by Neil Gaiman, by the way, in which the Doctor actually gets to interact with the TARDIS because she has taken human form.
Yeah.
I thought that was just such a fun episode that turns really emotional in the end as well.
That's a good one.
When he has to say goodbye to the TARDIS, because the TARDIS returns, the heart of the TARDIS returns back to the ship.
Yeah, I had that on my honorable mentions list as well. I think it fell off just because the list was so ridiculously long. But yeah, it's a good one.
It's tough. I mean, it was tough to narrow these down, and I know there's probably episodes that people are going to listen and be like, "How could none of you mention this one?"
Right?
And
we could have came in. We could do another episode with a completely different top 5 and still be right.
Yeah, exactly. But
so let me ask you guys the other way. What do you think was like the weakest Doctor Who episode?
Oh, Jesus. I don't know. I didn't really prepare for that.
I can go get I know exactly which one it is for me. I got to go get the title though.
Yeah.
The Aliens of London. That's season 1, episode 4. That's where like all of the folks who work in Parliament are like secretly aliens, and they're all like super gassy, and they're like constantly farting throughout the episode. That was starting with the Eccleston series. That was the 4th episode in. I was like this close to be like, I'm giving up on Doctor Who. That was a tough one to stomach. But
yeah, but we got Harriet Jones out of those episodes, and Harriet Jones was a great character.
But farting aliens.
Yeah, I get it. I don't know. Billy, do you have anything?
I can't think of a specific episode, but that one, the first 3, 4, 5 episodes of New Who, it took about 3 tries for me to get into it. Because I mentioned earlier, I'm a teacher. My kids talk about it all the time. I'm like, ooh, I want to watch this. And it didn't click with me yet. And I have a super busy life, and I wasn't going to invest in a show that's, at that point, 40, 50 years old. And, but a kid at school really convinced me, said, just push past it, push past the whole first season. Which for me, it didn't take the whole first season. It was like 2 more episodes. I was hooked. But yeah, those first few, and I think maybe I'm like entertainment spoiled. I think production quality kind of does a thing to me that I don't really, that it's more of a subconscious thing, I guess. I don't know. But as the production quality gets better and the stories get a little better and it's a little bit easier to chew on, I'd have to say just kind of those first few episodes were hard for me.
Yeah. I mean, going to what I said earlier about my mother, introducing my mother to Doctor Who and telling her, like, no, you need to start season 1 because you need to meet Rose. That's what I told her. I was like, you could start at season 2, just start at the beginning, and like your student told you, and just push through it. Push through season 1. It's only 13 episodes, and then get to season 2, and then that's where you start to get invested. I loved Eccleston as the Doctor. I really grew to appreciate him as the Doctor, and I wish we got more. But the writing of those episodes wasn't exactly the strongest compared to what we have now, I will say.
Yeah.
So it still brought in the audience.
I was going to say, it sucks, the whole, like you said earlier, go Google it or whatever, the whole stuff going on behind the scenes with Eccleston. But man, it really sucks that we did not get him in the 50th anniversary special. That would have just added a whole new layer of awesomeness to that episode.
They teased us with it.
Yeah.
Because we got to see John Hurt regenerate.
Yep.
And then we know he was going to be regenerating into Eccleston. And right before we see it happen, they cut away.
Yep.
It's like, oh, are you kidding?
Maybe he'll show up in the 60th.
They say there's going to be a lot of surprises for these 3 specials.
That would be nuts.
So, you know what, though?
Bury the hatchet.
Maybe. I mean, well, he did kind of return to Who in the audio series.
Mm-hmm.
So, I haven't had a chance to check them out yet, but, I'm very curious to see what that is. So, on the note of the 60th anniversary, before we start to wrap things up and, we let you guys plug away, what are we looking forward to for these specials? Because we know we're getting 3 specials. Tennant is going to be a part of all 3 of them until he finally regenerates into Chudi.
Gatwa.
Chudi Gatwa.
Chudi Gatwa, that's it, yeah. We're going to see him regenerate by the end into that. So what kind of things, what are we excited about? What are we anticipating for these specials?
Kind of like sorry, Billy, go ahead.
You go ahead.
I was just going to say, kind of like I was joking about before, whenever they go to announce the new Doctor, I'm always like, oh, I hope it's David Tennant. And this time it actually was. I texted my friend who's like a really big David Tennant fan. He's like, are you kidding? And so, having Tennant back on screen and then have him paired back with Donna, I think is going to be absolutely amazing. The chemistry those two have is just phenomenal. So looking forward to seeing them on screen again together. Not looking forward to having to say goodbye, but I guess with the good comes the bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I mentioned earlier, I'm just dying to know how this is going to work without harming Donna. And obviously it's a big special episode or 3-part episode, and they're going to do some special things. So I'm just dying to see who are we going to get cameos from, or maybe even bigger than cameos. Other doctors, other companions, whatever. But that's kind of what I'm looking forward to, as well as, seeing what's going to cause him to regenerate again. It's so quickly this time around, only 3 episodes in, but yeah, I'm excited for it.
I'm with you guys. I'm with you on all of that, but we're gonna have 3 specials: the Star Beast, Wild Blue Yonder, and the Giggle. These are the specials that we're gonna get. I was trying to look up the dates because I know. Let me go. September. No, September. We're already past that. November 25th, December 2nd, and December 9th. So 3 weeks back to back. We're going to be getting these new specials. And I'm excited that Russell T Davies is back as the writer.
Yes.
I'm also excited to see Neil Patrick Harris appear in these specials.
I don't know who this guy made a deal with that now he's like the perpetual supervillain across all of these huge sci-fi arcs. We just got done rewatching the Matrix quadrilogy, and he's the villain in the last one, and now he's going to show up as the villain in Doctor Who. So yeah, that'll be exciting.
Yeah,
I am really interested. There's been a lot of teases on social media about the 14th Doctor is not the 10th Doctor and what that actually means. So I'm curious to see how Tennant plays that and how the characters are different.
I don't know if I believe that though, because when Jodie Whittaker regenerates, he says, "I know these teeth."
Right.
Like he's very familiar with the person that he has become. Like it's familiar to him. And I will say too, also on that note, similar to you, Sean, how you kind of like jokingly said, "Oh, if only it's David Tennant again." I tuned in, as I mentioned, to watch that regeneration only because I wanted to see Jodie regenerate into Chudy. Man, they kept that such a well-guarded secret because nobody knew that was coming. And I remember watching that regeneration, seeing Tennant show up and just being, what? And
I did the what?
Yeah,
and then he does the
and
what?
Then that's his reaction is the what? Like, and just the fact that like we shared that reaction, I was like, oh, now I can't wait. And that's what really prompted me. I was like, okay, now I need to get caught up because I need to make sure there's not anything. I want to make sure everything I need to know for these specials, I know to watch these specials. So now I'm caught up and we're getting ready to go into these anniversary specials. And I'm incredibly excited.
I know it's finally here after a little Doctor Who drought, and I'm really pumped.
Yeah, I'm excited. So we're going to go on to the post credit. But before we do, gentlemen, I want to thank you for coming on, and I want to give you both an opportunity to plug anything that you have, whether it's a podcast, a social media account, anything at all. This is your opportunity to kind of just plug away. Billy, I'll start with you on this.
Yeah, so my best friend and I, we've been doing it for 3 years now, which is crazy. We do a pop culture podcast. We talk a little bit about everything. It's kind of like we get out there and gather what was new in the nerd news this week, from movies to comic books, video games, shows. Occasionally we get some really cool interviews at conventions and other situations, and we've interviewed actual Marvel and DC authors and artists from the comics, as well as some really cool actors and voice actors. And yeah, we just have a lot of fun doing it. My last name is Taylor, and my best friend's first name is Taylor, so our name is a little self-serving. We're the Infinite Taylorverse. Yeah. But yeah, our tagline is like our topics are infinite. But yeah, find us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, anywhere you listen to podcasts, and our social media. It's the same thing. Just look up Infinite Taylorverse on Facebook, Instagram, and I think on Twitter, or X now as it's called, is Taylorverse Pod. But most of them are just Infinite Taylorverse. And yeah, we have a lot of fun, and we do a weekly episode. We haven't had it. We just posted episode 144, and we haven't missed a week in 144 weeks. And that's crazy.
Yeah, that's really crazy.
If we know someone's sick, or there was a time when Taylor and his wife had a baby and I had some co-hosts on, Ben came on for one of those, and we just kept the ball rolling. And there's been a couple times we've been sick or had a loss in the family. We'll still make a real quick, blurb to put out there so that we don't have, dead air for the week. But yeah, if you like talking about pop culture stuff and the occasional interview with some cool people, it's worth a listen.
That's impressive to not have to go that long without missing an episode. Because I can tell you on my other podcast, Revisited, where we were in the middle of our Lost coverage, and in the middle of the pandemic, we took what was supposed to be a 2-week break that turned into 61 weeks before we finally made our return and then finished our Lost coverage, and now we're into Ted Lasso. So that's a good thing to have, is to not have that that break. So that's impressive. So, Sean, how about you?
Yeah, thanks, Ben. I mean, first, I just want to say thanks for having me on. This is my first podcast I've ever done, so I was really excited to do that. That's awesome. So thanks for having me. And yeah, I love talking about Doctor Who, so thanks again.
Yeah.
On social media, I'm kind of across the board. I think you can find me under SP Productions, so Sierra Papa, like my initials. I've got a budding YouTube channel I'm trying to build up, but I'm also on Instagram, Twitter /X, whatever you want to call it. And then I have a Facebook page as well, where you'll find mostly kind of my cosplay and prop-related projects. I build a lot of replica props from various shows, Doctor Who included. So yeah, check it out there. Thank you.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of your props too. A lot of the props that you have make me incredibly jealous.
Yeah, the real good ones I bought, so I can't take credit for those, but they are a lot of fun. Like the Hasbro Proton Pack that came out last year or earlier this year was phenomenal. So
yeah, that's the one in particular. That's the one in particular I'm the most jealous of, especially now that we're getting Frozen Empire.
Yeah. Probably the coolest toy I have in my collection is the Proton Pack.
The Proton Pack. Did they ever? I don't think they made a trap yet. Just the Proton Pack.
They are. So Hasbro does this thing called HasLab, where it's like a crowdfunded project. So they'll tease a thing like a Proton Pack and say, hey, if we can get 10,000 people to commit to buying one of these at this price point, we'll make them. So not too long. It's actually still running. I think it's up for like another month. They're calling it 2 in the box, a little reference to Ghostbusters. So they're doing a trap and a PKE meter.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, from Afterlife. So although I guess it's kind of up in the air whether it's actually from Afterlife. It's definitely the Afterlife PKE meter. The trap might be from Frozen Empire. We're not exactly sure yet, but yeah, it's on the Hasbro website if you want to go check it out.
I'm going to have to check that out. Yeah, I was incredibly jealous that you got the Proton Pack. I was so tempted to back that project. And
I was definitely on the fence because I have like a prop kit in my stash of stuff. So I was kind of hesitant to buy another one, but I'm super happy that I did. It's an amazing piece. They did a really fantastic job with it.
Yeah. And then I know Spirit Halloween, I think, put out like a replica that I think was pretty decent, actually.
Yeah, Spirit Halloween's got their own Proton Pack. They actually have their whole line of Ghostbusters props. So they've got a Proton Pack. They have a trap. Funny story, the end scene in Afterlife of all the traps in the field were all Spirit packs that the prop master bought and kind of dressed up a little bit for the show and then buried in
awesome.
the field. Yeah, so they've got the goggles, and I think they have a PKE meter as well. So yeah, Spirit's got a pretty fantastic line of affordable props for people like looking to pick something up and, take it to a con or whatever.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And a big twist. This is actually a Ghostbusters podcast.
What a twist.
No. Who are you going to
call? No. So I'm, so we're going to head into the post credit for the listener feedback and everything, which, I do by myself, but I just wanted to make sure I thanked you guys properly, gave you guys the opportunity to plug away. But guys, thank you so much for being on and talking Doctor Who. And Billie, it was great to have you back on. I'm sure it won't be the last time. And Sean, I hope to have you back on as well.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, look forward to being on. Let me know how I can help out, and hope to see you at Colorado Springs Comic-Con.
I hope so. I'm hoping to be out there. If anybody from Altered Reality is listening, you've heard it. They want me there. I think the talks are already happening anyway. It's all right.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for having me on, man. And Sean, nice to meet you.
You too.
Yeah. All right, guys, stick around. We'll go right into the post-credit. Welcome, everybody, into the Wilhelm post-credits. My little solo session that I do at the end of these episodes, or at least I'm starting to do at the end of these episodes. Haven't really done it before, but this is something I've been wanting to do for a little while, and we're going to start it now. No better than the new season to get it done, right? Special thanks to Billie and Sean for coming on the podcast and talking Who with me for a little while. This was an episode we've been planning for a while and figured no better time to do it than now, the 60th anniversary of the series. I'm incredibly excited to see these 3 specials that are going to be coming. I'm incredibly excited to see where the series is going to go from here. And it's been a part of my life for a little while now, and I'm really excited to keep it going, to keep that tradition going. So thank you again to Billie and Sean for coming on. And to Sean in particular, well done. I had no idea this was the first podcast he had ever done. So, Sean, well done. Well done. You did a great job, and I can't wait to have you back on. And we'll see if maybe you start doing more of this. Maybe you get a little bit of an itch to podcast, to moderate, to do whatever it is, because you're an awesome person. And yeah, we'll see where this takes you. Not saying Wilhelm is a launching point for anybody, but hey, you never know. And if I can have played at least a small part in somebody launching something, a new hobby, a new passion, well done. Well done. Not just to me, but to just anybody who gets the opportunity to do that. So anyway, this Wilhelm post-credit is, of course, again, first time I'm doing this, but I'm going to continue doing this. This is where you're going to hear all the plugs of things coming up. Maybe some more timely stuff, because some of the main discussions do get recorded a little ahead of time. And of course, listener feedback. That's what this is mainly going to be. I want this to be a spot for listener feedback, for people to let me know, your favorites of whatever topic we're talking about, your points on whatever topic we're talking about, whatever it is. So I encourage anybody listening right now, please follow the Wilhelm Facebook page, facebook.com/Wilhelm podcast. Or you can follow on Instagram as well, instagram.com/@Wilhelm, not slash, just look for @Wilhelm podcast on Instagram. And you'll find us there too, because you're going to see some feedback posts. And those are the places where you can comment to leave your choices for a top 5 or your points for whatever we're going to discuss. Or, of course, you can always email directly. You can send it to me at feedback@wilhelmpodcast.com. And going that way, you can send it to me either as an email, or you can even send it as a voicemail. Record yourself in a voice note, record yourself on your computer, record yourself on your phone, and send it to me. And I will play it. I will play it here in the post-credit. So we did get a couple pieces, not a lot, but a couple pieces of feedback for this particular topic, this Doctor Who. I was hoping for more, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are fans of Doctor Who, but not everybody's comfortable leaving feedback, and that's okay. So, but let's read what we did get. We did get 2 pieces, and they were left to us via Facebook. And the first one comes via my friend Keith Bowerman, and he says, I will forever wave the flag for Colin Baker. I asked the question, by the way, who's your favorite Doctor? What are some of your favorite episodes? All the things that we discussed. So again, Keith says, I will forever wave the flag for Colin Baker, the 6th Doctor. After years of personable, funny, and warm, if occasionally cranky, doctors, to go in a complete different direction and make him an absolutely self-absorbed and angry asshole was a very interesting twist. Sadly, the script writing and the internal politics of the Beeb really, the BBC for anybody who doesn't know, really failed Colin, who was absolutely a good enough actor to pull off what Eric Seward was initially going for. I'm not sure I buy the story that Seward purposely tried to sabotage the show by making the Doctor hated just because he didn't like Colin Baker, but who knows. 6 was very much the template for what 12 would eventually be. Angry and abrasive, eventually mellowing into the kind of Doctor everyone loves. Anyway, Vengeance on Varos, The Two Doctors, and Revelation of the Daleks are highlights for me from this run, and I would strongly encourage anyone who has an interest in 6 should definitely look into Colin Baker's work on the Big Finish line of audio stories, where his character and his adventures are more fully fleshed out, including a retcon of the worst regeneration ever. Thank you for that, Keith. And yeah, like I'm right there with you. The audiobooks are something, the audio stories are something that I really I haven't had the chance to dive into. And I really want to, especially considering what we talked about in the main discussion about Christopher Eccleston returning to the role after having only done one season, but returning in the audio form. That in particular is something I kind of want to, I kind of want to get into, and I want to give them a shot. So, and then the other piece of feedback we have is from our friend Derek O'Neill. And Derek says, my doctor will always be Peter Davidson, the 4th Doctor. I'm the youngest by 5 years of 4 boys. I always remember sitting down on Saturday night with the whole family to watch Tom Baker's Doctor, and then one night he regenerated. The next season, it was no longer my brother's Doctor Who, it was my Doctor. I love how involved he still is with the show, father-in-law to David Tennant, and real father to the Doctor's daughter, Georgia Moffat, now Tennant. My favorite episode of the new era is The Doctor's Wife, where the TARDIS is personified and gets the chance to speak to Matt Smith's Doctor. Beautifully written by Neil Gaiman. Can't wait for the new episode this month. Look out for the Children in Need special minisode this weekend. It's bound to be fun. Thank you, Derek, for that. Derek actually did send me the Children in Need minisode that had come out, and it's fantastic. It's so much fun. I love when Doctor Who gets to do those fun little things for Children in Need or Comedy 8 or whatever it is that they're doing. They always make them very lighthearted and fun and funny. So it was a lot of fun. I stand with Derek on that one, and I say, and to go check it out. And The Doctor's Wife, that was one of my honorable mentions on this. That was one of the ones that almost made my top 5, as I mentioned in the main discussion. So great choice for one of your favorite episodes, Derek. That was a lot of fun. But again, thank you, Keith and Derek, for the feedback. Again, I encourage everybody listening out there, leave the feedback, help us out and do what you can. And, leave the feedback, share the episodes, everything that's happening. It is what it is. And I appreciate all the love and the assistance, and we'll read the feedback. Like I said, we will read the feedback on the podcast. Well, I will read the feedback on the podcast. You never know. I might have guests that are going to join me for the post credit. So where do we go from here with the post credit? Well, that is the plug section. That's where I'm going to tell you about everything that's going to be coming for Wilhelm, all the things that you should check out. Starting first, of course, with Billie Taylor, who was a guest on the podcast. Check out his podcast, The Infinite Taylorverse, and go just search for that wherever you find podcasts. It's I've been on it, and it is actually a lot of fun. He's been doing it for a long time, and as I mentioned as well, it's a big accomplishment to be able to do that many episodes in a row without missing a beat, because I know from experience, having been a podcaster for 10 years, you're bound to miss some weeks, but over 100 strong. That's absolutely amazing. And then, of course, Sean, go check out, if you're on Facebook, search for SP Productions, and that is his site where he does all the, he shows you all these new videos, and you can find links to his YouTube page as well through that. Go give that page a like, follow Sean on there. I'm sure he'll be back on again to talk about more. He just posted a picture on the page, Men in Black related, because he likes to collect all these different things. So, and he has the neuralizer from Men in Black, which is awesome. As for Wilhelm, this is the start of the new season. I did take a little bit of a break, between writer strike, actor strikes, everything happening, working Rhode Island Comic-Con, which was amazing. I was away for a little bit, but I'm back. New seasons. There are groups on Facebook now with people that are following. The Patreon is going to be launching soon so that you can help the podcast survive if you would like to. It's not a requirement, but if you would like to. And some more details on that will be on the website, on the Facebook page, on the Instagram. So places to follow, wilhelmpodcast.com. That is the easiest place to go to find everything, where to subscribe, where to listen, links to social media, all of that fun stuff, but direct links to social media, facebook.com/wilhelmpodcast, Instagram @wilhelmpodcast. I'm not on X, not getting political about it, but I will not be on X either. So you don't have to worry about trying to find me there. As far as things coming from Wilhelm in this new season, I have lots of audio of panels that I've done over the past couple of years. Peter Cullen, the voice of Optimus Prime, Christy Swanson, a voice actors panel from Contropolis, Pennsylvania, audio of my panels from Rhode Island Comic-Con, including members of the Brat Pack, Anson Mount, Chris Sarandon, Vicki Lawrence and Dorothy Lyman, Greg Nicotero from The Walking Dead. I have a lot of audio that's going to be coming your way. But of course, we're going to be going back to the top 5 format as well. We got a lot of plans for top 5 episodes, including another Christmas episode this year where we'll probably talk about most untraditional Christmas movies, top 5 of that. And then, of course, we're going to do some actor spotlights and so much more. We got a lot planned. So make sure you're following, make sure you're listening, make sure you're subscribed, and make sure you share the podcast. Put it out there. I think that is just, sorry. 2 more things before we go. Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, the new Apple Plus series has debuted, and my friend Mark Kirkman and I are covering it here on Wilhelm. We are doing weekly coverage of the show. It is a joint venture with the Podcastica Podcast Network. My friend Jason runs over there. So you can hear it on the Wilhelm podcast feed. You can hear it on the House Podcastica podcast feed. It launches on both. And to anybody from House Podcastica that has now come over to Wilhelm to give us a listen, hello and welcome to the family. Hopefully you enjoy your time here. But Mark and I are covering that every week. We're going to have some special guests along the way. The first 2 episodes have already dropped. By the time you're hearing this, we'll be preparing for the 3rd episode, which is already released. We just haven't recorded on it yet. And that'll be going into the beginning of January. Also, make sure you are following Kristen and I covering Ted Lasso over on the Revisited podcast, which is a Wilhelm spinoff. Revisitedpod.com, facebook.com/revisitedpod, or on Instagram @revisitedpod. We are almost done season 1 of Ted Lasso, and it has been so much fun revisiting that show because we both just absolutely adore that show. So go over there, give it a follow, especially if you're a Ted Lasso fan, because we're having so much fun talking about the show and doing a deep dive into the show. We didn't realize you could do a deep dive into the show until we actually started doing the deep dive. And there's so much there, so much goodness, so much emotion, so much love. And it's been a blast. Kristen and I also here on Wilhelm have been doing the movie swap. We took a little bit of a break from that only because the last movie I had given to Kristen, for those of you wondering where it might have gone, because we haven't done one in a couple weeks. The last movie I gave to Kristen was a Matthew Perry film. And then before we got the opportunity to record on that, Matthew Perry passed away, sadly. And, much to our chagrin, because we were both huge fans of him, excuse me, and of Friends. So we needed to kind of take a step back because I didn't want to force her to watch a Matthew Perry movie. So we kind of have to just we're going to reassign new movies to each other and kind of start fresh. So expect Movie Swap to return sometime after the Thanksgiving holiday, because we're definitely going to get back to it. We were having a blast doing that, and we're going to return to it. So thank you guys, as always, for everything. Thank you for listening. Thank you for following. Thank you for subscribing. I don't know what's next on the docket because I have so much, but expect to see another episode of Wilhelm within the next 2 weeks. You're going to see something pop up. It might be a panel. It could be a top 5. I don't know what it is going to be at the time I'm recording this. I don't know what it is going to be yet. Keep an eye on the socials. You'll see it there. what it's going to be. This way, if it's something you can chime in for, you can absolutely chime in for it. And I encourage you to chime in for it. But until next time, I will see you guys on another episode of Wilhelm. Take care.